together from all around the city, who all like from my friend circles, from other friend circles, all who love art, who love it in the form of poetry, who love it in the form of music, who love it in the form of fiction and stuff. So a couple kids here. This is we have a lot of children running around. My girls are going to want to sit in the hallway. Okay, you can listen, but you need to be in the hallway. There you go. Out of sight, out of mind. Okay, right, there we go. Those are my kids. Anyway, so I want to welcome you, and I'm really glad to have you here, and I hope that what you have tonight makes you a better person, because I think that that's the right kind of entertainment. Entertainment's not a bad thing, but I think this kind of entertainment is particularly enriching to us as human beings, and so I'm really glad that you get the chance to be here and hear all this tonight. Here's how the show's going to go. We're going to have 4 different acts, so to speak. 2 of them are literary and 2 of them are musical. To begin with, we're going to have some poetry. It's going to be followed by some music from my wife, my sister-in-law, and then we're going to go take a little break, give you a chance to grab another beer or another glass of wine or a Coke or whatever, and then we're going to have some short fiction from my friend Kross, and we're going to end the evening with Madison Blount, and he's responsible for this gigantic, packed set back here. If you think you're squashed, look at them. Anyway, so let me begin. I'd just like to begin with a prayer of thanksgiving for the beauty that we're going to receive tonight and for the friendships we have. Father in heaven, we thank you for beauty. We thank you for bestowing it on us. We thank you for honoring us with the chance and the privilege to make it again and to enjoy it together. I pray that you would be present with us tonight. We pray in Christ. Amen. Okay, well, yes, my wife has an announcement.
Just the bathroom.
Yes, the bathroom, right.
The bathroom is, right through the door over there, or you can go this way. But there are 2 doors. So make sure that you close and lock both doors. Our children will barge in.
That's right. I have a problem with that. My wife doesn't, so they don't know what to think. I'm always like, shut that door. Anyway, I didn't go over any logistics. I just went all sentimental on you. Okay, well, let's talk about some details. First of all, there are drinks for sale in the coolers, and there's a little cute little ceramic pot there with money in it, and I need you to put as much in there as you want just to help me cover costs tonight. That's all we're going to charge you, those, for the drinks, and anything you want to put in there to just help me kind of defray costs would be great. But we're asking $2 for the hard stuff and $1 for the fizzy stuff. Anyway, after that, in the den, if you go all the way back, and we encourage you to go back and just hang out after the show and do whatever and talk and meet Joel and meet Riley and my wife and everybody. Back there, we're going to have some things for sale, including some of the poetry that's going to be read, and including some of Joel's music and his merchandise and stuff, all of which is really great. Anything else? Any other details that I've got a few more details that I'll give you at intermission. I'll just give you a chance to bring you back. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to Alicia Clavell. That's Clavell, just like the Madeline stories, like the caretaker in the orphanage. So I executed on that right away. And she's going to share some of her original poetry with us. Thank you. I totally said it wrong. Alicia. I said Alicia.
I told you, I answered it with a reason. So, thanks, y'all. I have 2 poems from Southern Women's Review that I'll read, and then I'll read 2 of my original works. So Southern Women's Review is in the back. We've been publishing since 2000. Can y'all hear me okay? Is this okay? You want this one?
Yeah.
Better?
Yes.
Excellent. We've been publishing since 2009, and the first one that I'm going to read to you is by Marjorie Wentworth. She is the Poet Laureate of South Carolina that we published last year. And I love her last line. I'll go ahead and spoil the last line for you. It is my friend singing in the gathering light, which I felt was appropriate for what we're all doing here tonight. So this is the first one. In Sorrow and Sunlight by Marjorie Wentworth. On her last day, I was driving south, past fields of corn and cotton, miles of green sloped hills where horses roamed between small towns, like memories of places I'd never been. Once I drove across mountains to see her. Horses grazed in the fog-filled fields beside her house, moisture clinging to their fur like strings of tiny stars shining in sunlight. In my dreams, she lives within the world she loves. Notes ringing in the morning air like tears. Her voice tinged with sorrow and sun. The bell song of her leaving, filling the spheres. And this is what I hear calling in the night, when stars remind me of her joy and her bright, my friend singing in the gathering light. And this next one is by Purvi Shaw, and it's called Maya Shuffles Plates, hoping to generate electricity. Y'all can hear me okay in the back, right? Okay. She despairs that lukewarm icebox, rank of singed wood, that thick of kerosene. She wants to drink shade. She wants to hold the substance of your hand. She wants not to want. Sometimes rotation is progress. Sometimes the illusion of progress, revolution free of charge. Maya is tired of illusions. She wants to eat. She wants to generate. So Maya serves variables, quirky and new. All we have is today. Today is code for this moment. All this moment has is memory of your voice, a lapsed proton, such potential. Ah, this world. Lingering at beauty's edge for one strong force to break air from, gravity, time, from space, collide, shadow, and self, manifest, charge. All right, now 2 original works. All right. This first one came from, there was this moment when I was sitting with my grandmother and her friends. I think I was about 30 at the time, and one friend whispered to the rest of the ladies that were gathering, said, they were talking about somebody at the factory, and said, you know, she's 30 and unmarried. And then all of a sudden there's this silence as they looked around and realized that I too was about 30 and unmarried. So this is what came from that. Piano hands. Uncle Coke had Kentucky farmer hands. Rough and stained with sun like the veined tobacco he pushed and pulled and tacked to walls, loosed by time and termites. We knew his comings and goings from the door's breath. Inhale bluegrass breezes, exhale collards, corn, and hardy ground, and the plink of his well-worn band on the porcelain sink. As he washed away the day, what looked on tiptoe like a showy tangle of swift, sweet, lathered soap, meshed into finger webs and loosed of sun-shook stains. They say I have Coke's strong, big hands, meant in a girl with no fields to farm and no ring to plunk, to mend holes, sew buttons, make wheat noodles, steal eggs still warm from hens, and practice long hours by the metronome. And this next one is for my grandmother as well, and this is the last one for y'all. She was amazing. So she worked at the Ford plant for about 30 years, and she told me lots of really wonderful stories about her factory work. So this is after my grandmother and some of her fabulous friends there. Lines for Goldie. Her name was Goldie. The Ford plant exhales small blue smoke, and Goldie, Flo, and Phyllis don't think about what they are doing with their hands and how their legs have become treasure maps of veins after sitting on metal stools for 8 or 10 or 12-hour shifts. They call themselves 3 amigos and gossip big while their fingers make quick work of air conditioning parts, pushing in jigs and adding them to the belt, a mechanical pastoral that winds the factory like a road through Indiana, wild and let loose far as the safety-goggled eye can see. The changing light works the day in varied shades of gray, now silvered like the women, and the bolts and washers that they twist tight like their bodies used to be when their hair was pulled back long. Goldie, Flo, and Phyllis tell stories of sons and daughters and second and third shift husbands. Back then, their lifelines had not yet rounded the corner of their thumbs. They lived for lunch breaks and planned their talks by the factory whistle. They still take the same way home in a factory-built Ford, with the air conditioner on high and the windows drowned of the machine hum and the small twisting of washers that edge their lifelines farther around the still plump moon curves of their thumbs. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks so much, Alicia. Welcome, come on in. All the way back in the kitchen, we've got some drinks for sale. Drinks. If you could help me out. Welcome. How are you doing? I'm Charlie.
I'm Crystal.
Crystal, right? Okay, good. Thanks for coming. It's good to have you. Okay, after Crystal, we've got another poet from us. After Alicia. That's Crystal. Ready to go?
No,
Crystal, you ready to go?
not.
Okay, sorry. I had confusion. I didn't realize you didn't understand the story. Everybody here's going to read. No. After Alicia, we've got Jerri Beck, which is actually a special privilege to us, something of a local legend here in poetry. So really happy to have you tonight, Jerri, and I'm excited to hear what you're saying. I do think you should probably stick with this mic for now. It sounds like this one's the one that's kind of hot.
You probably need to put it down.
Here we go.
I think that, yeah. Can y'all hear me in the back? I guess if you couldn't, you wouldn't know to knock. I'm once known as a white Indian. I grew up on the Qualla boundary, which most people know as the Cherokee Indian Reservation in western North Carolina. And I come from mixed Cherokee and white. And we're not real popular on the reservation because neither side really wants to claim us. And through the past 50 years of my life, I've been writing about that, and I finally put it together in a book called Tribal Markings. And this sort of sets the tone. Tribal markings. When I was a child on the reservation, a missionary told me of African tribes who cut the faces of children, packing the wounds with manure to ensure scarring, branding for recognition. With edges keener than their primitive knives, I was branded, filled with infections harsher than the dung of cattle. But like the tattooed sailor, I have come to love my scars. Sometimes at night I touch them, hard and stony in soft flesh. Some of you may have heard of Nantahala. It's a river and a section in western North Carolina where a lot of people go to canoe and kayak. But the word Nantahala means land of the noonday sun, because there is so much fog there because of the combination of the temperature changes from the land and the river, that oftentimes you don't see the sun until around noontime when the fog finally burns off. Nantahala. Some mornings the mist so fill the valleys up that they become illusions waiting for the sun to bring them into view. The mountains know these mornings, and the river carries songs of frost and rime, creating dawn and ice. And there are evenings when the ridges snatch the ridges far away so fast, no dusk comes, only day and night. Here in the land of the noonday sun, the pines and caves shelter secrets of a people no longer a part of the mountains that birthed them, now apart from their river home. And probably a lot of you have seen the ads on TV for Ancestry.com where they, you just put this name in, a leaf pops up and bam. Well, family tree. I can't go online and click a page and have my great-grandmother pop up with an address and the name of the man she married. Most of the time, I cannot find a town that claims any of the people who formed the roots and limbs that led to me here and now. I know of the one who played a left-handed fiddle, the man who broke into a jail, not out, and the woman whose spine was stronger than the pines that cover the mountains of her birth, the births of her children. She sent them all away to school to learn to be white, Her husband lied about his lineage when the soldiers made the roll, and they knew then that whites would survive longer than people the color of earth. And when I left for good, my grandmother said, "If you don't tell, no one will ever know." And I did as she said, but not forever. One reason I left Cherokee is because I really don't like cold weather. And I was tricked into coming to Birmingham thinking it didn't snow here. But this sort of capsulizes the way I feel about it and the way it makes me feel. Timberline. I have been alone here since winter came, but I have heard a voice coming heavy through the icicle forest. The house, small and locked in, shudders as night closes in. The shaded day, quick only to escape, left me here with shaking tree limbs snapping in the cold. The cellar stairs crack as if some stranger's feet search them for shelter. The cedars groan on the frozen ridge, prophesies more snow. On the nearest hill, the firs dig deeper into cracking ground. Their blue-gray notes grind against the frigid rock. The urgent voice starts again, a rumble just below the timberline. The wind speaks in pine-dark vowels, then slides to check the ice growing across the river. The voice hardens, moves in like the mountains ringing the valley. Inside, the fire fails at water frozen in the log. I stir the crumbling oak, but flame crawls back inside the wood, grating at the icy air. Alone, the yard hollow fights. Wind cuts and whines across the last sharps of green. Behind my back, night rails against the fingers of dead dogwood. White windows shrill against the dark. The voice deepens at the door. And when I first got married, my mother-in-law lived in Montgomery, and we had to go down there regularly. And it was not my favorite drive, quite frankly. And this came from one of those Sundays. Driving to Montgomery. There's an unloved house, you say, sweeping your arm to the right, where kudzu and sawbriars define rotting walls and sagging roof. Houses collapse if no one loves them. Like people, I think, picturing your mother at the end of the drive. I twist to watch the house out of sight. Kudzu flowers send the odor of grape Kool-Aid after us. How fragile the car seems, merely steel between us and a world of asphalt and unloved houses. The fields at home bloom with abandoned cars and washing machines. Great steel gardens border the road. Morning glories weave purple and pink through rusty hoods and broken lids. One old blue Ford has stood alone so long that a jack pine grows in its trunk. Driving to Montgomery on this clear Sunday, I feel the car filling with the sadness of unloved things. Eyeless dolls in dusty attic boxes, wheelless bikes leaning against garage walls, dresses hidden in closets, unread books, brown leaves raked to the curb, letters stacked unopened on the desk. 40 years of chipped dishes and outgrown shoes fill basement corners. 6 boxes of mason jars, long empty, gather dust. The rings have rusted. How easily we ignore used pieces of our lives. Reluctant to let them go, we give them over to hidden places where we do not have to see the fading paint and rotting threads. A stray dog, his skin clinging to sharp bones, sniffs a bag of garbage beside the road. His eyes watch the car move past, but his nose keeps his search. I start to cry. For the dog, the house, the cars, and all the things we shut out, seal up, bury, move away from, and hide, so we won't have to love them anymore.
team. It's not the sound system. It's some piece of equipment up there.
Nothing's being
It's coming from this guy, isn't it?
It's probably overheating.
Is it alright if I just, Joel, is it okay?
There you go.
It's a fan. This is a fan.
Oh.
Okay. It's a new sound system. I was really nervous. I'm just gonna call those people up.
Okay. Well, if you like what you heard, okay, there are for sale back in the back copies of Alicia's Southern Women's Review, which has her poetry and other women poetry from the South, the Birmingham area, and it's $5, I think, a piece. If you just, make sure I get that before you leave, I'll make sure she gets it. And Jerri's book, the one she was just reading from, is also back there for $10. So there's no way. I feel like as you were reading a line here and a line there, I just thought that's it. That's really beautiful, and I'm happy that someone put those words together. But there's no way to really get it, without kind of going over and over again. I think that's what poetry's for, is to go back over again. So I really encourage you to consider getting one of their two pieces, one of their two books in the back, so you can kind of see what they said and kind of mull it over and enjoy it again and again. All right, up next, my very own wife and my sister-in-law are going to come up and give you some songs. So. This is Alison, Ritch, my wife, and Sarah, Scherf.
Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Sarah and I really sang these songs together for the first time today, so.
Sounds good, Jess. Thank you for your support.
Yeah.
A big fan. Well, the first song that we're going to play, I'm afraid I'm going to knock something over. Is about an ill-fated 10th anniversary trip to Asheville that Charlie and I never got to take. But Asheville is, like, we've never been there. I know it's like 3 hours away. I mean, how far away is Asheville? 5 hours. It's not far, but it's like Mecca for us in our minds. But anyways, this song is called Asheville. Known each other half our lives. 12 years now is man and wife. We've had 3 girls and a baby boy since we first said I do. And musician talking. Okay. Sarah's not singing on this one.
Like me on this one.
It's terrible. This next one is called Little Bird. Your heart is like a little bird, helpless with a broken wing. The sweet sadness in your song is heard, a tune that's born of suffering, a tune that's born of suffering. The hands that hold your fragile heart are hard but hold it tenderly. They bear the calluses and scars of the mender of all broken things. Your heart is like a lily flower, which once was fresh and new and bright. Now with broken stem it bows, but still straining faintly for the light, aching for a ray of light. The hands that hold your trampled heart are hard but hold it tenderly. They bear the calluses and scars of the mender of all broken things. The hands that clothe the lilies bare and feed the sparrows of the air. They hold your heart so lovingly, the mender of all broken things. His hands, they surely bear your grief. The mender of all broken things. Thank you.
Come on back up, Sarah.
Okay, I think that's next. Okay. Did y'all hear the drums eerily playing themselves? I don't think it'll be distracting. Now it's the quietest song I'm playing, so I don't think you'll hear it anymore. This next song is called Breakdown, and I wrote it after reading in Luke about the woman who, when Jesus was dining with with some Pharisees, and this woman who is called a sinner comes and washes his feet with her tears and her hair. And the irony in the story is the Pharisees are saying, okay, if if he knew who she was, but he wouldn't let this happen if he were a prophet. And they're the ones who don't know who he is. She's the one who knows who he is. And when you know who he is, that's the correct response. And I believe in Jesus, but I don't have that response most of the time in my life. And it just made me think of other situations when, in all the other people listed in this song are people that I know or have heard specific stories about being in situations just flooded with gratitude or relief. And I just thought, I want some of that. So it's called Breakdown. Like a hostage set free, you just can't believe the simple kindness of a stranger. Like the mother of three, cured of her disease, told suddenly she's no longer in danger. I wanna break down. Break down, I wanna break down, overwhelmed, overcome, relief like a flood, break down, so break me down, 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 down. Like the father who holds his lost little girl close, who can't stop praying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like the woman who rises, new hope in her eyes, from the bed that her addiction kept her chained to. I wanna break down. Break down, I wanna break down, overwhelmed, overcome, relief like a flood, break down, so break me down, 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 down. Like the woman in sin, can't hold her love in, pours her tears out on the feet of her sweet Savior. Like the sinner I am, washed in the blood of the Lamb, rescued, healed, forgiven, found forever. I wanna break down. Break down, I wanna break down, overwhelmed, overcome, my unbelievable love, break me down, down, I wanna break down, break down, I wanna break down. Break down, overwhelmed by your love, my tears like a flood, break down, break me down, 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 break me down, 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 Lord, break me down, down, down. Down, 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 down. Thank you. Our friend Josh Banyel, who's playing with Joel, and he's an amazing musician. I asked him if he would play electric guitar, like, mealy, mealy,
on this next song because it really rocks. No, it doesn't really. No, it doesn't. But he played through this one time, and it sounded amazing. So, but this next song is called Heaven Holds. And I have had the gift recently to spend just a very little amount. I'm in nursing school, and I've spent just a very little amount of time on a couple of different psych wards. And I'm going to cry. But just a lot of my music is about, comes from my faith, is rooted in my faith, and kind of rallying and calling myself and other people to faith. And I've just been at a loss meeting people who, you know, a patient that I talked with on Tuesday was intellectually impaired, paranoid schizophrenic, and bipolar. So what do you do with that? And I can't tell her anything to help her get better, and she's not going to get better. So, have a good night. No. Anyways, this song came out of wrestling with that, just kind of bringing it before God, and really just no clear conclusion, but just what's been in my head. I can't even tell you the verse, but just that from him and in him and to him and through him are all things, that there's nothing outside of the dominion and the grace and the redemption of Christ, even if it's impossible in this world, in this life. This is called Heaven Holds. If there's a pit with no holes for hand or foot, mind or soul, no rope thrown down from on high, or Jacob's ladder to the sky. Heaven holds, heaven holds, heaven holds it all. Heaven holds, heaven holds, heaven holds it all. decided mid-song to play the piano instead. That was beautiful.
Now I'm just readjusting your mic.
Okay, this is my last one. It's happier, but it might still make you cry. This is called Made for Glory. Well, this isn't a lot of explanation, but I wrote it a long time after a long time of trying to figure out, as we all are at different times, how to, as many of us are, how to handle suffering and tragedy in the light, and trusting God and continuing and maintaining faith and hope and then I'm just gonna play it. This is called Made for Glory. I was gonna tell this part. There was one particular tragedy with a friend of mine, and a horrible tragedy. And as a group of friends around her, trying to figure out what to do, there was someone who said, "Thank you, God. We know this is good because it came from your hand." And that just didn't sit right with me, even though I believe that God is in control and God is good, and trying to figure out how to balance those things. So anyways, this is what I've come up with. All is as it should be. Oh, He gives us all we need. His promises, His very presence, but we're still down on our knees because our Father's a King, and He won't leave us here languishing. So we'll fast and we'll pray because our hearts and bones still break, and we know that we were made for better things. We know that we were made for glory. get some air, get some drinks in the kitchen. And how much, babes? How much time? 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
About 10 minutes, we'll start at the beginning.
Without any further ado, I want to move on the show. Our next presenter is Riley Kross, a dear friend of mine, headed up to NC State in the fall to pursue an MFA. But we get him for a few more weeks, and I was able to rope him into doing a story for us tonight. So please welcome Riley Kross.
Riley Kross! Yeah! You got it, man. You got this.
Okay, I like to give like a brief introduction to my stories before I read them. And I really am glad that I'm reading this story in particular before I leave Birmingham, possibly temporarily, maybe not forever, as some people shouted out. Because this story would not have been written if I didn't live in Birmingham for the last 4 years like I have. And the reason for that, there's kind of two main reasons for that. The first reason is that for some reason when I write fiction, I oftentimes come up with a title before I come up with a story. I'll kind of like sit on these titles for a while, and then I kind of get like an atmosphere and a tone from this title, and eventually the story kind of comes out of that down the road. Sometimes I sit on titles for years before I actually write anything. And I got the title for this story, if you've heard of Weld, the Weld newspaper that's published in Birmingham. I was flipping through Weld, and in the back there was an advertisement. It's this little ad right here. There's a skeleton on it. And this is for a seance in downtown Birmingham. And the reason I was intrigued by this is because of the wording on it. It starts off and it describes itself as an atelier, which I had to look up, is a French word for like an artist's house. An atelier and purveyors of the unusual. And then down below it says, you're invited to join us for a seance. Fridays and Saturdays from 8 to 10, starting November 15th. Reserve tickets. Tickets are $25 each. No children under the age of 13. Our seance will begin on schedule, so please arrive on time. So I read that last line, and I was like, well, that's the title of the story. And I sat on that for a while, and eventually this story kind of came out of it. The other part that's very Birmingham is I used to live in 5 Points in an apartment building, and if you drive kind of over the mountain into 5 Points, you pass Vulcan on your right. There is an old white house that's called like Candles, Books, and Coffee or something like that. If you know anything about that house, it's an interesting house, and that house kind of makes an appearance in this story as well. The final thing is that this is an odd story, so this is a little bit of a disclaimer. If you are disturbed by what I read and you're like, Riley, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight, please come talk to me before you leave, and I will hopefully soothe or calm you down before you head out. But this story is called The Seance Will Begin on Schedule, so please arrive on time. When my mother's stomach was big and round as a globe, with me inside, there was another baby in there too. About 2 weeks before we were supposed to be born, the house caught fire. My father was out late visiting a congregant in the hospital. My mother was home asleep and would have died with me and my brother inside her if she hadn't heard a flaming bookshelf collapse in my father's study. Large volumes of doctrine up in flames and fall into the floor. Later, my father referred to this as hair's breadth providence. My mother made it out just before the roof caved in. 3rd-degree burns over most of her body and a miscarriage to show for it. Doctors couldn't explain the miscarriage, especially since I made it and my brother didn't. They said it was stress-induced by the fire, but my mother thought differently. All her life, my mother had been prone to visions and dreams. One night, she dreamed of a dirt road and a steeple above pine trees, and a small church filled with light. Inside, the preacher was passing out communion when suddenly the wedding bells started ringing. When my mother woke up the next morning, she went looking for that church. She found it before the service was even over. That's how she met my father. She told him that a dream had brought her. The night after they buried my brother's body in a tiny coffin, My mother dreamed she was back inside the burning house. She was running down the hall to the stairs, but the stairs were all on fire. She tried them anyway. Even in the dream, she said the skin on the bottom of her feet burnt worse than walking on asphalt in the summer. After a few steps, the stairs gave way under her, and she crashed down into the storage closet. But when she was inside the storage closet, she wasn't in the house anymore. She was inside her own womb, and she was looking at my brother and me swimming around inside her. She said that I was kicking and flailing because the fire excited me. But my brother, he was calm and still, waiting for it to pass. She said she could see our hearts beating the same, healthy and strong. Our hearts were soft red glows pulsing like hot coals. Then she told me, I got so excited that I started to kick and hit my brother. I was hurting him, but I didn't know. She started to scream at me to stop, but then she was back in the burning house. She was screaming as she ran naked down the steps of our porch, the nightgown burnt off her body, the roof collapsing behind her. She said she could smell the skin burning off her arms and back as she held her stomach and fell to the grass. I was 7 when my mother told me all that. She told me that she forgave me for killing my brother because that's what Jesus said to do. But then she told me she didn't know if I was an angel or a devil. Then I started to burn things. I found a box of matches and made a habit of lighting piles of leaves. The first time I did it, when I flicked that match, the bright burst of energy also fired off in my head 1,000 times and set me off. I did it just about every day after that. I could tell it made my mother nervous, but I couldn't stop. I mostly only burned things that didn't matter, like sticks and trash, but sometimes I'd burn other things. There was one evening when I was sitting on the porch with my mother. We were waiting to see my father's car come up the long driveway. The sun was setting behind a big white oak that grew way out in the front yard, with branches that arched wide like arms trying to wrap the sky. My mother said how beautiful that tree was when the sun set behind it and golden beams glowed through the branches. Her saying that was what I think made me do it. I looked at that tree and saw what it would look like on fire, big gulfing flames dancing along the branches. I thought that would be more beautiful than any sunset. It was. I lit it that night. I snuck out after dinner and leaned tall pieces of scrap lumber against the trunk. I started 3 different small fires and watched them meet around the base of the tree and grow. It had been a drought year, and everything caught like it had been waiting to. That tree was more alive than it had ever been. I went back in the house to get my mother so she could see how beautiful it was. She ran out into the yard with me, but screamed and whipped me on the spot and asked me why I did it. I was angry at her from the whipping and yelled back that I did it because I wanted to. Did you get excited when you saw it burn? She asked me. Yes, I said, bent over her knee, staring up at the flames. The next morning, after the firemen were gone, my mother left too. The blackened tree was still smoking. You'll burn too, she told me as she walked out the door. Hell was made for people who like fire. Tears ran down the pocked scars on her face as she got in the car. My father's hair turned gray almost overnight. I'm not sure if that was because of me or because she left. He'd always put a lot of faith in my mother's visions. He stopped preaching and we moved to the city where he started a tuxedo rental company. As I got older, I found ways to control my wanting to burn things. One way was to smoke cheap cigarettes, and at least once a day, I'd take a pile of junk mail and old magazines and light it in the fireplace. That worked mostly. My father helped me pay for community college, but then he died in the middle of my 2nd year, and I didn't go back. I don't know if my mother is dead. She might be. If she is, I hope they are with my brother. I found the advertisement in the back of a newspaper, one of those alternative papers that print articles about new diets and the mayor's mistresses. The ad was black with a picture of a skeleton surrounded by gold wavy lines. I thought it looked like the skeleton was on fire, which is what got my attention. When I read the ad, I wasn't sure what to think. I wasn't sure if you could actually talk to the dead like people say. Even if you could, I didn't think it would work with a baby that never was born and so never learned how to talk in the first place. But I figured I could try. The ad said, "You're invited to join us for a seance, Fridays from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m., Occult Atelier and Coffee, 2022 South Broad Street, $12 admission, cash only, no children under the age of 13. The seance will begin on schedule, so please arrive on time." I thought whoever wrote the ad seemed pretty nice, and that even if it didn't work, it would be fun. I'd had the conversation in my head a lot, and tried all different ways, but no way ever seemed right. Once, I remember my mother saying she was sure that my brother went to heaven, but my father said we couldn't be so sure, and then my mother slapped him and screamed curses I didn't know she knew. My father never said anything like that again. So sometimes I imagine that my brother grew up in heaven and is exactly as old as I am, and we can talk. But one time, I dreamed that he was still a baby and couldn't understand anything I tried to say to him. He just kept crying louder and louder and wouldn't stop. I drove to the Occult Atelier and Coffee on the south side of town, right on the ridge before you go over the mountain into the suburbs. It was an old white 2-story house with a big front porch and black shutters. I wasn't sure what kind of building you were supposed to have a seance in, but it wasn't that. It looked just like 100 other houses. The only weird thing was that not much else was around the house. Across the street, all the nearby buildings were abandoned, and next to the house, there wasn't anything but a partial parking lot and piles of old bricks. Like the other buildings, had mostly got up and ran. Closest thing was a failed townhome development around the next bend. I got there early because I like to get to places early that I've never been to before. The sun was setting behind the tall bank towers downtown, so I sat on the hood of my car and watched for a while. The colors were bouncing off all the glass windows so that everything, even the streets, glowed orange. I like watching sunsets because the light is pretty close to what it would look like if everything was burning in low flames. I don't know why I like fire the way I do. I've read about other people who do. For some, it's a sex thing, but I don't get that. Other people do it to feel power, and I understand that a little. Something about seeing something on fire just seems right to me, like it is supposed to burn. Those towers and buildings, even the church steeples. Maybe my mother shouldn't have said all that to me when I was young. Maybe she shouldn't have left like she did. I don't know. She lost her baby, and I don't pretend to know what that does to you. After she left, my father told me that since the miscarriage was so close to the due date, she had to give birth to both of us. Maybe she just needed something to blame, and I was the closest thing. I sat there outside the Occult Atelier and Coffee and watched the whole city smolder slowly and gently into nighttime ash. About when the sun dipped behind the distant foothills, my stomach growled. I figured I would head in and see if they had any food to go with the coffee part of Occult Atelier and Coffee. Above the front steps, there was a large hand-painted sign with the name on it. By the front door was another smaller sign that said, "Palm readings by appointment only." The door was open and the house seemed empty at first. Right inside was a bookcase with books covered in strange symbols, mostly different arrangements of shapes. There were a lot of eyes, too, looking at you. Another bookcase further in had a lot of big jars with different types of herbs and small rock-like things in them. From there, I could see through into the next room, where 2 ladies sat together at a table beside a window. One of the ladies had her hand laying out flat in front of her, while the other lady slowly traced the lines on the first lady's palm. The lady reading palms was short, with long black hair that almost touched the ground. She was a bigger lady and had on all black clothes. When she traced the lady's palm, her finger moved like it was drawing a picture in sand. She spoke quietly, and the other lady leaned in to listen. Neither of them seemed to notice me. I walked down the hallway toward a man standing behind a counter with his back to me. He was tall and skinny, in a red plaid shirt and blue jeans, and was mostly bald, deep down to the top of his neck. Above him, a chalkboard sign read, "Coffee or tea, $1." When I walked into the room, the floor creaked, and the man turned around smiling. "Well, what can I help you for?" I told him that I wanted to go to the seance, and was hoping there might be food to eat beforehand. "I'm sorry, we only have coffee," he said, "or tea if you like that." He was nice, and I guessed that he was the one that wrote the ad in the newspaper. The room was mostly empty, except a few tables and chairs, and some black and white photographs of random things that were for sale on the wall. "There is a good taco truck a few blocks back into town," he suggested. "Best pork tacos I've ever had. You can walk there from here." "All right," I said. "I'll go ahead and pay for a ticket first, in case y'all sell out." He kind of chuckled and said, "Sure, $12. Did you bring cash? People don't always carry cash on them anymore these days." I handed him a 20. He started to count my change out of the register. "This isn't a scam, is it?" I asked. He paused from his counting, which I first thought was because he was nervous. Then he looked up at me, right in the eyes, and said, "No, sir, it's not a scam. This house is the real deal. There is a force here. Spirits live and visit, and it don't have nothing to do with you or me. I wouldn't have believed it myself if I hadn't seen it." Then he went right back to counting the change. "My wife, she found the place." He motioned toward the palm reader in the other room. "She can see things other people can't." "Can she really talk to the dead?" I asked. He didn't look up. "Sometimes," he said. "Other times they just talk to you." I wasn't sure what he meant by that. When he handed me the change, he reminded me to try the pork tacos and that the seance started at 7:30. There was a line at the taco truck. I never should have waited. But I could smell the tacos, and my stomach was on empty by that point. 6 people were in front of me, but there might as well have been 20. I tried to work out again in my head what I would say if the seance worked. I pretended my brother was grown like me. I'd ask him if I really did it like our mother said I did. I figured he would know. If he told me it wasn't my fault, that it was just the fire, I'd ask him if our mother was there and if she knew that it wasn't my fault now. I hoped she did. If he told me it was my fault, well, I didn't think much on that. I didn't think you could actually apologize enough for something like that. I had 1 chicken taco and 2 pork tacos, and then I sprinted back up the hill to the Colt Atelier and coffee. I knew I was late, but I thought it would be okay, because most things don't actually start on time anyway. Growing up, my father's church never started on time, so I figured a seance would be about the same. When I got back, the house was dark, and only the outside lights were on. Everything was black on the first floor, but on the second floor, a lot of candles were lit in one of the rooms closest to the parking lot. The oversized shadows of people gathering around a table waved across the curtains. Everything was real quiet, in that strange way when you keep thinking you hear something, but you really don't. The front door was locked with a sign on it that said, "Closed for the night, seance in progress." All the windows on the porch were locked too. I went around by the parking lot and tried all the windows I could reach. A bunch of voices screamed from upstairs and then suddenly hushed. The candles in the room flickered tall on the curtains and then blew out all at once. A tall, skinny shadow that I could tell was the man from the coffee counter stood up and lit them again. I was more set on getting in after that. Somebody up in that room was getting to talk to their dead grandma or someone who probably died when they were good and old while I was locked out. I should have been in there talking to my brother, someone who never even got to talk or hear a voice. I went around and checked the back door and windows. They were locked too. When I turned the next corner of the house to check the other side, that's when I saw him. I saw the ladder first. There was an extension ladder leaning into an open second-story window. At the bottom of the ladder was a man dressed in one of those Halloween costumes that is all black except for the thin outline of a glow-in-the-dark skeleton. Even his head was covered by a black mask with a skull on it. The costume was actually pretty good, and it would have looked like a real skeleton there in the shadows if it weren't for the pair of white high-top sneakers the man had on. He turned his head toward me, and and I could tell he was surprised, even though all I could see was the weird smile on his skull face. "Hey, what are you doing?" I asked quietly. "Get lost, man. You're not supposed to be here," he hissed back. "I am too. I got a ticket, but all the doors are locked." I pulled out my ticket and held it up. He shrugged his shoulders. "You should have been on time." I didn't really have a response to that. "What are you doing out here anyway?" I asked him. "I knew this was a scam." "It's not a scam. Mind your own business and get out of here." "It's as fake as they come. You're just part of the show," I said. "Come on, man. Don't cause a scene. Just get lost." He stopped looking at me like he thought I would just go away. The empty sockets of his skull aimed back up at the window. "I mean, you're wearing white high tops. How are you even expecting to believe that?" I was still whispering, but I wasn't sure why. The house was quiet, and I felt like I had to be too. He didn't answer me. He just kept staring up at the open window. I don't know why I didn't just leave. I should have. "Who are you?" I asked. "What?" he said. He looked down at his feet and started to climb the ladder. "Who are you? What's your name?" I called up at him. He laughed. "I'm the ghost," he said. "I'm whoever you want me to be. Now get out of here, jackass. You weren't on time." The skeleton crawled into the upstairs window and disappeared. I stayed down there in the dark for a minute, waiting to hear a scream. I imagined the skeleton sneaking down the hall in his high tops, all those stupid people in the seance thinking the dead were with them. Maybe all he was supposed to do was walk by the open door, just a glimpse to get people believing something was there. The whole thing made me mad. The $12, the white high tops. I pulled out the advertisement I'd stuffed in my pocket. That was when I realized that the wavy gold lines around the skeleton in the ad weren't flames. The lines were just supposed to look like the skeleton was shaking. Right then, it looked like he was laughing at me. It started before I knew what was going on. Small pieces of trash piling up beside the house, planks of wood, cardboard boxes, anything around that might burn. The lighter was out of my pocket, that small golden torch pointing towards the bottom of the ripped newspaper ad. The paper curled slightly when it felt the heat. I love the moment right before something lights. You have to really look to see it all. First paper yellows, then browns, and then it catches. A single flame started to grow and eat towards the top of the ad like a widening mouth. The skeleton flicked back and forth as it was swallowed. And I didn't notice it then, but now when I think about watching that ad burn, I see my reflection in the flame as clear as I do in a mirror. I smiled as I inhaled the wisps of gray smoke floating up between my fingers. When the ad was about halfway burnt, I dropped it into the pile of boxes and trash. I helped it grow. I helped it catch one box on fire. The next box caught on its own. Then a tall piece of wood leaning against the house. But I wanted more. I wanted it done faster. I lit one end of a thick stick and climbed the ladder. There wasn't anybody in the upstairs room, but there was a bed and some furniture. I held the stick out towards the bed and waited for the comforter to catch. Then I tossed the stick into the room and went back down. The bottom boards of the house were already starting to catch, and smoke was starting out of the open window upstairs. I couldn't do anything then but watch. It was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. It always is. The house was old, and it wouldn't take long for the mouth of the fire to start swallowing the side. I didn't move, just stood there close for a while, and felt the heat pound on my face. Soon the smoke piped out of the open window upstairs, like a smoker exhaling through his nose. I made my way back around to the parking lot. I wanted to see it happen. Back by the car, I heard the people scream inside again, but it was a different scream, a panicked scream, and it didn't stop. I wanted to see the skeleton run out of the front door with everybody else. I wanted to see the look on everybody's face when they found out what a scam it was. The dead don't talk, just some punk in white high tops. But I never saw him come out. I figured maybe he was quick and took off the skeleton costume before running out. So I walked over to the crowd and looked for anybody wearing white high tops or that was barefoot. The whole house hadn't caught yet. Everybody was gathered watching the flames grow. I know I might be different, But I also know that everybody likes watching a good fire. It doesn't matter what is burning. They stood there and stared and talked about what must have happened. They figured it was a candle. I didn't see anybody I thought was the skeleton. The short lady who had been reading palms was crying into the side of her husband's plaid shirt. He looked at the house dumbfounded. "Where's the skeleton?" I asked them. The palm reader was crying too much to hear me. The husband looked confused. "Where's the skeleton?" I repeated. "What are you talking about?" the husband said to me. "The guy in the skeleton costume. I saw him climbing through the window. Where is he?" Something small exploded in the house and everybody jumped. The palm reader sobbed louder. "I don't know what you were talking about," the husband said. "You weren't on time. Why are you here?" "I know it's all a scam. Tell me where he is." The husband looked at me like he still didn't know what I was talking about, but I could tell he was getting suspicious. The palm reader stopped crying for a moment and looked over at me out of the corner of her eyes. She knew something. They were good liars. I backed away and turned toward my car. That was good timing because just about then I heard sirens in the distance. I needed to be far away before they found out the fire wasn't from a tipped candle. The palm reader's husband took a few steps after me and yelled, "Hey buddy, what's your name?" I didn't look back. The palm reader sobbed again, and her husband must have gone back to comfort her. I looked up at the house, at the room that had been lit by the candles, and I don't know now if it was a vision, or if I saw a spirit, or if it was someone in the last few moments before they died, but I saw the skeleton in the window upstairs, the flames surrounding him, flicking gold light across the white bones of his body like he was shaking, just like in the advertisement. But then there was just the window, and the house on fire, and something about it all that pleased me. I watched in my rear-view mirror, the fire trucks pulling up, the people backing away, the house glowing in a beautiful blur of smoke and blaze, the whole scene getting smaller and smaller as I drove away until it wasn't but a single match flame burning in the dark. Then it was gone, and I thought about what the palm reader's husband had said, about the house being where spirits lived and visited. I wondered where all those spirits would go now.
Over the next 6 to 8 months, it's probably a good idea just to go to Amazon occasionally and Google and just like enter Riley Kross into the search bar and just see what comes up. You never know. Okay. Anyways, I wanted to point out one more thing. If you if you got the email from me and you saw that beautiful picture of our house, the photographer who actually took that picture for me is actually here. She's back in the back. It's named Emily Kickletter, and okay, well she's there. She's leaning away. Okay, there she is. Thank you, Emily. I just want to say thank you to her. She took that for me. It was a pretty awesome picture. It looked like my house was kind of on fire from the inside, so to speak. Anyway, without any more ado, though, I would like to welcome Joel Madison Blount and his band to our house. So please give them a warm welcome.
I'll give another hand for Riley Kross. That was really amazing. Can you turn the highs down just a tad on this mic? And a little bit of reverb in as well. Turn the guitar down a little bit in the mixer. are the best part of me, and I'll be here for you. Yes, I'll be here with arms open and I will always be. Yes, I will always be here for you. Whatever you do, know that I'm here for you. Yes, I'll be here for you. With arms open turning the highs down on his mic just a tad bit. My name is Madison Blount. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. We're all going to be really good friends over the next 45 minutes. And I'm really kind of thankful that nobody decided to sit right here. I have a tendency to, just saliva tends to jump from my mouth occasionally. I'll aim it this way, and you should be safe. It's kind of like SeaWorld. You're not in the splash zone. But it's a pleasure to be here. I'm so thankful to be a part of, getting to share my music with you here tonight and share some time in the corner of this lovely home with all the other poets and writers that have, and Alison that sang earlier. So I'm going to stop talking now. crazy. She brings in the tide with her waxing eye opening up wide. Oh, and time stands still as her presence here transmogrifies my will at the parity. She takes a hold of me, struck by the moon, struck by the moon. Curving on me, manic voices recount the images I see. Oh, and time rolls on as the oddity that envelops me unfolds at the apogee. arms open wide, not to be confused with arms wide open.
Not to be confused with Scout stuff.
Yeah. You'll get it for Josh Vignell. He's doing double duty on the piano and the electric guitar tonight. You ready? You situated? Situated? Okay. Let's do this one all. Start off together. You know, count us off, Alex. As they worked in this like coal plant for 6 weeks. Well, he wrote the novel in 6 weeks. I'm gonna get the story all jumbled up. And his job was like he stayed up all night just keeping this coal plant going to keep producing energy. And he liked it because it was a silent place for him to work, and there was this hum in the background from the machinery and everything, and he just helped him to focus on what he was doing. And anyway, it was just like a stream of conscious writing. He just kind of wrote it all out, and it was kind of similar to how he wrote that novel, because it was written over a 6-week period, just blah, in a typewriter, and there you have As I Lay Dying, which is this amazing novel. And anyway, I don't know if I should like talk about songs as we play them or not, but that's where that one came from. And this next one that we're gonna play is called The Giving. It's not that all of the songs I write are about like in response to something I read, but just some of these happen to be that way. So this one was inspired by the Giving Tree, Shel Silverstein children's book, and so I won't say anything else about it. That's it. It don't matter what I do, you are never gonna love me the way I love you. I gave you all I had to give, but you asked for more, and I wanted more to give to you. You took all my fruit and my branches, built your life upon sacrifices I made for you. But no matter what I do, you will never love me the way that I love you. For all the joy I ever had was trying to find in you. And when you dance around in desperation, setting fires to all the patience I could spare for you. Oh, my fruit and my branches, open out of the ashes, sacrifice to you. But no matter what I do, you will never love me the way that I love you. You will never love me the way that I love you. Now that we're both wanting weather, the years weren't kind, just cold and desperate. Won't you rest your bones on what's left of me? A stump remains, but my Thank you very much. So, my mom, she has a cousin, one of many cousins. His name is Ray Sawyer, and he sang in this band, well, he still sings in this band called Dr. Hook. They were like big in the 70s. They had this song on the cover of the Rolling Stone. And a lot of the songs that Dr. Hook was famous for were actually penned by Shel Silverstein. And so I felt like it was fitting that I wrote a song for Shel, throwing back to him. So the next song we're going to do, I guess this is the first time we play this one live, so hopefully it goes well. So the first song we sang tonight was for my son Gabriel, and this song is for my wife Angela. I won't start like this. Young mother I'd like to say give a special thanks to Alex Henson on the drums tonight. This is Alex's second live real performance with us, and he's been a phenomenal addition to our group. All these songs that we've played for you tonight are new songs that we're working on as a group together. We have plans to record them all this year and release them under the name Montleone as a new band. So, preview party. Here you go. Montleone. Like mountain lion. Montleone. Let's see. Trying to figure out what to do here. Let me just play one by myself here. See how it goes. This song was on the first album, well, my first like full-length album, which I have for sale back here in the back tonight, with some T-shirts and some posters and things. I'd love for you all to have a copy of the album or a poster or a T-shirt. So go back there and check them out. Check them out. I think they're pretty cool. That's what I'm selling there. But okay, so this song was on there. I'm gonna stop talking. Is this really awkward for y'all? I was beaten down, kicked on the ground, dragged through the mud. Now I'm covered in blood, and the woman I got, she ain't happy a lot. It seems the jams that we get in are because of my sins, and I'm lush with my wine. Water all the time, but just a little bit. She helps me forget. She helps me forget. She helps me forget. Lord, take it off of me, this weight off of me. This burden on my shoulders before getting it older. Lord, take it off me, this weight off me. She's forgiven me time and again, but there comes a point where the line must be drawn, and she lays down the law where she accepted my faults, but wasted I crawled until I lost control, and our children were told that I'm a slave to my sins. I fall again and again. Maybe the works of my hands, they might save my skin. They might save my skin. They might save my skin. Lord, take it off of me, this weight off of me. This burden on my shoulders before getting it all. You want to sing Lost in the Swell? Just like kind of, just sing out really loud. This song was also, sorry, we don't have a microphone. This song was, I guess, kind of the title track on our last album called Taming the Wind. The album is Taming the Wind. The song is called Lost in the Swell. Torn into pieces and lost in the swell, sailing for the promised land. Our ship is wrecked in hell. We cower and crawl in the hold of our craft, with darkened eyes, failing pride, set out to sink us fast. In the distance, a beacon burns above the waves. Do not fear, for I am here. The voice calls through the haze. Your words to hold as light goes down, and miles to go before we sleep again. Your words can sing the wind and give us hope that we'll see home, that we'll see home again. We're branded by sorrow and the close of despair, and the surly clouds roll over us and leave our souls laid bare. In the distance, a beacon burns above the waves. Rise up, return to me. A voice goes through the haze. Your words to hold as light goes down, and miles to go before we sleep again. Your words can take the wind and give us hope that we'll see home, that we'll see home, we'll see home again. We'll see home again. We'll see home again. We'll see home. Y'all keep the applause going for Mr. Will Weir on the bass guitar back here. Will's expecting a baby that could arrive at any moment. We have not received a call yet, but
Just kidding.
close one. Keep Mr. Will in your prayers. So thank you. you very much for having us here tonight. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you to the Ritches for having us, for hosting tonight. Y'all give us a big hand for them. For everyone that read poetry, for Alison for playing, for Riley for reading. This was just a really amazing time, and we're just really thankful to be here and share a few moments with you. Hope you enjoyed some of the music, some of the songs. We've got one more for you here tonight. It's called Beauty That Remains. Honey, all that you know is only a shadow of the man I hope to be. A pale reflection, starlight drifting in silence on the surface of the sea. In the movement of the trees, in the evening by the breeze, through a window under the light of the moon, silhouettes of my regret arise from the ether as visions of the past haunting me. Oh, I believe in the best. you very much. Y'all have a great night. Enjoy Madison Blount. Come say hello after the show.
Let's hear it one more time for everybody that performed tonight. And there is absolutely no need to rush away. Just hang out in the den. If those of you who are by the door could just fold your chairs up and lean against the wall so that it's a little bit less crowded. But otherwise, hang out. There's plenty more to drink, plenty more time to talk and meet new people and talk about stuff. And go back there and grab some stuff from Joel. Otherwise, just thanks a lot for everybody for coming. It was a great night.